So, what's the difference between a protest and a full blown revolution? It's a huge question. And back in 1919, Korea gave an answer that would change its history forever. Today, we're diving into the March 1st movement, and we're going to see why just calling it a protest, well, that doesn't even come close to telling the real story.
And that's really the big question we're tackling, right? When we look back, are we just seeing a huge, angry, nationwide demonstration against Japanese colonial rule? Or was this something much, much more? Was this the actual beginning of a revolution that completely reshaped a nation's soul?
Okay, so to really get this, we have to go back and set the stage. Let's look at what was happening that made 1919 such an explosive, pivotal year.
You really have to understand the pressure that was building. By 1919, Japan had been in control of Korea for almost 10 years. And this wasn't a light touch. They were actively trying to stamp out Korean culture, even banning the language in schools. You can just feel that deep, simmering anger, just waiting for a spark.
And then, three things happened. Bang, bang, bang. First, the last emperor of Korea, Gojong, dies suddenly, and everyone suspects he was poisoned. That sparks national grief and outrage. At the exact same time, you've got this idea spreading across the globe from U.S. President Woodrow Wilson about self-determination, this idea that people should choose their own destiny. For a colonized nation like Korea, that was like a bolt of lightning. And then you have these incredibly brave Korean students in Tokyo itself who stand up and declare independence. It was, literally, the perfect storm.
But here's the thing. This movement wasn't just about anger. What made it so powerful, what made it really catch fire, was a set of new, modern ideas that were for their time totally revolutionary.
And the heart of this new thinking? It's all right here, in the Korean Declaration of Independence. This is the document they read out loud in parks and streets all across the country on March 1st. And it's our first huge piece of evidence for why this was so much more than a protest.
Just listen to this one line from it. The days of force are gone, and the days of morality are here. I mean, just pause and think about that for a second. This wasn't a call to grab your pitchforks and fight. This was a call for a new kind of world, one built on ideas of justice and what's right, not just who has the bigger army.
And this slide just lays it out so clearly. The old way of resisting was about, restoring the king, going back to the way things were. But this was completely different. This was about leaping forward. It was about demanding human rights, building a modern democracy, and doing it through nonviolence. That's a radical shift in thinking.
So, these revolutionary ideas, they weren't just for intellectuals sitting in a room somewhere. No, they spread like wildfire and ignited the entire nation. The sheer scale of this is just mind-blowing. We're talking more than 2 million people. 2 million! In over 1,500 different demonstrations, all in the span of just a couple of months. That isn't just a protest. That is a mass mobilization on a level that Korea had never, ever seen before.
And who were these 2 million people? Well, look at this list. It was literally everyone. Farmers, students, religious leaders from different faiths, women, shopkeepers, people from every single corner of society. This proved it wasn't just one group's agenda. The entire Korean nation was speaking with one voice.
And here's the really crucial takeaway from that. It wasn't just about the numbers. The very act of millions of people coming together like this forged something new, a modern Korean identity. People started to see themselves not as subjects of some forgotten kingdom, but as citizens of a nation, as a single community demanding its freedom.
All right, so it was huge, and it was built on these incredible new ideas. But what happened next? What was the lasting impact? Why are we still talking about this over a century later?
Well, the ripple effects were massive, both at home and around the world. It got global attention, it inspired other independence movements, and it even forced Japan to change tactics and ease up on its harsh military rule. But maybe the most revolutionary thing to come out of it was the creation of actual, lasting political institutions.
And this right here, this is probably the single biggest piece of evidence we have. Just weeks after the demonstration started, Korean leaders gathered and formed the Korean Provisional Government. Think about that. This wasn't just a committee, it was a government in exile with a constitution and a president. That is a classic textbook sign of a revolution in progress.
So let's just put it all together. The March 1st movement really does tick all the boxes, doesn't it? It completely changed political thinking, Check. It mobilized the masses on an unbelievable scale. Check. It created a brand new political institution that lasted for decades. Check. And it had a major impact on the world stage. Check. This was way more than a protest. It was a revolution.
And that leaves us with this one big thought. The March 1st movement fundamentally transformed a nation's identity and paved the way for its future. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are those key ingredients, that special sauce that allows any movement, then or now, to go from just making noise to actually changing the world?